Hey guys, today we are out to answer a very common question amongst Sonos users, both new and old, and that is, how much do you benefit from adding another speaker to one that you already have? That is, making your single Sonos 1, Sonos 1 SL, your 5, your Roam and your Move into a stereo pair. So in my usual fashion of giving you an upfront summary so you don't have to stay for the whole video, I will give you a short answer today. Now, doubling up your speaker count from 1 to 2 to pair them in stereo probably gives you 3, maybe even possibly 4 times the amount of volume you're going to be getting out of one speaker on its own. Now today we have a very interesting test because in my previous video I was doing a binaural recording of the difference between a Sonos Roam, and this is white one is the original Sonos Roam, and the Sonos Roam SL. And these two are able to be paired together to give a stereo pair. And when I did the recording, the kind of effect kind of blew me away. So it wasn't so much of getting just a soundstage increase or a volume increase. It is actually a combination of both. So today, I want to answer the question, how much are you exactly getting? And to answer that question, I will be employing both the Sonos Roam as well as a pair. Oh, these are heavy. A pair of the Sonos Moves right here. So one of you requested, they say, hey, if you're going to be doing that for the Sonos Roam, why not do it for the Sonos Move? Because nobody else on YouTube has done a stereo paired Sonos Roam review before. I was kind of surprised, but okay, I will hack the science out of this today and we will find out what it actually does by pairing the Sonos Move together. Oh, these are heavy. So without further ado, let's get to the charts. And these are the frequency charts that I haven't actually been doing for quite some time. So what a frequency chart does is that it takes these speakers, it plays a continuous tone from 20 Hz all the way sweeping up to 20 kHz, and it measures it using a specialized microphone that will actually detect what kind of response these speakers are putting out. Now, today's video is not specific to the Sonos Roam and neither is it specific to the Sonos Move. So all I wanted to show you guys is what does doubling the speaker count from 1 to 2 does to your volume as well as the soundstage. Now, the frequency response curves that I'm going to be showing, they won't show you the soundstage, but humans, we have 2 ears. It will do well to have speakers positioned to the left and to the right so that you will be getting the correct soundstage. In fact, for recording purposes, a lot of them are recorded in stereo. At least for music, I know now there's Atmos, there's 3D recording and all that, but the difference between stereo and 3D recording is that much, but the difference between mono and a stereo recording is probably like this much. So while the frequency response chart will show you the output, the volume differences, it will not show you the soundstage difference. So you have to factor that in. So for those of you who are considering whether you want to double your speaker count for your Sonos 1 to a pair of Sonos 1 or your Sonos 5 to a pair of Sonos 5, or even other brands like your AA Phantoms or your Klipsch or your whatever count of speakers, to me, music has to be in stereo. It needs to be enjoyed in stereo. Okay, so let's pull up the first frequency chart. Now, I have to set some baseline, some benchmark where we are going to be talking about. So the first curve that I'm going to be putting up right here, okay, is talking about actually the Sonos Roam and the Sonos Roam SL in mono, meaning to say I'm actually playing only one speaker at a time. So I measured the frequency response all the way from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. So if you look at the chart on the far left, it starts with 20 Hz, and on the far right end, you will see 20 kHz. So I made some markers on the frequency chart to bring to attention the more important markers in my opinion. So you will see 30 Hz on the far left, you will see 100 Hz, and you'll see 300 Hz, followed by 5 kHz and all the way to 20 kHz. Now, this is an average response. Otherwise, if I don't average it out and if I don't actually smooth it out, it's going to look all jaggy. So I made it this way so that it's easy to read. Now, you'll see a predominantly green curve. The green curve is actually coming from the Sonos Roam. Okay, and the blue curve, and if you take a look somewhere there in the middle, you'll see that right about maybe 2 or 3 kHz, you'll see a blue line peeking out. So essentially, what this particular chart is trying to show here is that the Roam and the Roam SL, basically they sound the same, right? The output is the same. The frequency response curve is very, very similar. The Roam is able to do auto through play. The Roam SL, because it lacks a mic, it is unable to do auto through play. So maybe that blue line peeking out, it is actually auto through play not working. So you will see a slight deviation. It is too slight. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to consider both of these, the sound profile, to be exactly the same. All right. So I made a marker there. That's 86 decibel. So 86 decibel at peak output when the volume is set at 75%. So these Sonos Roams were set at 75% volume, and that is one single Sonos Roam. Now, the next chart that I'm going to bring up is actually that of the Sonos Roam in stereo. So the Roam and the Roam SL are able to go in a stereo pair. Now, when you combine the both of them in stereo and I do the same frequency sweep, you're going to be able to see that now the peak output jumps all the way to 92 decibels. Of course, the peak output frequency response shifts a little bit closer towards the 300 Hz range as opposed to the about 150 Hz range for the Sonos Roam on its own. In the stereo pair, the 300 Hz takes over the peak and is at 92 decibels. Now, when it comes to perception of volume, every 3 dB increase, acoustically, you're going to feel, for a human, you're going to feel like it is twice as loud, all right? So from 86 dB to 92 dB is a 6 dB increase. So 3 dB, twice as loud, 6 dB, twice as loud of the twice as loud, and that's 4 times the volume. It is hard to perceive a 4 times increase in volume because you would think that it's 4 times louder means, you're just going crazy. But it's just something that you feel is a lot louder. It's not like you will go deaf 4 times faster. I can't really explain it, but just take it from me that it is a lot louder, okay? And that is what you're going to be getting out of pairing 2 speakers together instead of just one, all right? The volume increase is about 4 times, especially for this pair of Sonos Roam that I have in my hands now. Again, I'm going to state, this is not something that is peculiar to the Sonos Roam, neither is it peculiar to the Sonos Move that I have here. It mostly will apply to the rest of the Sonos Ones, the Sonos Fives. So I can do other tests if you are interested. So just leave your comments in the comment section below and I will see if I can accede to those requests. Today, I won't be doing any recording. It is a little bit late at night now and I don't want to wake up the whole house. So, and yes, pairing them up in stereo increases the volume tremendously. So if these kind of things are important to you and these kind of things interest you, do leave a like and subscribe to this channel. When I roll out more content, you can get notified if you also ring the notification bell. And I am here to share with you more about any wireless audiophile products that I come across and I personally like and use. Now, the next chart that we have here, you will see a cyan line coming out, okay? Now, this cyan line is the move in mono. So basically, I'm just testing one speaker and that is the volume output. Now, if you take a look at the chart you have here, you will see that the bass response, which is your 30 Hertz all the way to 100 plus Hertz, the bass response is actually coming up a lot stronger. The Sonos Move is about 3 kilograms and I don't know how much heavier are these, but is hell of a lot heavier. As well as volumetrically, you're going to be looking at quite a difference in size, right? So just look at the whole size difference. It is a lot bigger. And when it comes to sound, you can't really fight physics, right? Because of the size, because of the weight, there's a bigger magnet, there is a bigger cone inside, it's able to move more air. You can't quite get around that. I mean, of course, computational audio can help out a little bit, but there's no fighting physics when it comes to sound reproduction. The bigger speaker is going to sound louder, it's going to produce the lower frequency a lot better. The tweeter size won't differ too much, but For bass response, it is depending on the woofer, it is depending on the mid-range cone, and these are going to be a lot bigger on the Sonos Move than on the Sonos Roam. So you can see that the bass response almost all throughout the whole range, right up to 3-4 kilohertz, the Sonos Move is going to trump the Sonos Roam, either in single or in stereo. Now, the interesting part, if you refer to the yellow line again, the interesting part is that at about 5 kilohertz, the Roam in stereo is actually outputting more sound than the Sonos Move in a mono configuration. So that is something to take note of. Of course, you may not notice that. It's going to sound a little bit brighter and clearer. The whole sound signature between the Sonos Roam and the Sonos Move are going to be very, very different. So you may feel that the bass coming from the Sonos Roam is going to sound a little bit anemic after you come away listening to the Sonos Move, like within a span of 30 seconds, 1 minute. So do yourself a favor. If you want to consider the Sonos Roam, don't compare these side by side. It is not going to help your decision at all. And talking about volume, 95 decibels. So 95 decibels at the peak output, that is already twice as loud as a pair of Sonos Roam. Your next question is, how about a pair of Sonos Move configured together? But I just am not very sure how many of you own actually a pair of Sonos Moves, right? So the Sonos Move is great. You want to move it to the pool, you want to move it to the patio, you want to move it to the park or anywhere else, you take it along. One of them is great. Two of them is going to weigh 6 kg. I'm not sure you want to move them around, but they can be configured to be paired up in stereo. And a soundstage, oh my God, this guy is going to throw out such a soundstage. It actually, I would say, objectively speaking, sound a lot better than the Sonos One. Well, objectively speaking, again, it's not going to sound as good as a pair of stereo configured Sonos Fives, but the price bracket is slightly different. I think these Sonos Moves go for about $400, whereas the Sonos Fives, they're going for $550 US, and that is in the US. In Singapore, the price range is actually a little bit closer because the Sonos Roam is actually not cheap, tipping the scale at about 729 Singapore dollars, whereas the Sonos Fives, I think they are going for about $849 in Singapore. So make your judgment there. If you needed mobility and if you want to bring your sound, make it portable, and you still want to enjoy great bass and great stereo separation, then the Sonos Move is your... I must be pressing something while holding up. Okay. Sorry. I was pressing some of the buttons at the back and now it's trying to pair or configure. Okay, never mind. I've already done the testing and the charts are up there. Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't trying to avoid the question. The next chart that I'm going to be pulling out is the Sonos Move in stereo configuration. Now, these monsters, when paired together, okay, they are peaking out at 101 decibel. And let me share with you something, all right? The mic is placed about 8 to 10 inches. Well, actually, I made it very, very standardized when I was doing this particular test. They were placed about 8 inches away from the speakers, and when in the stereo configuration, I put it in an equilateral triangle such that it is still 8 inches away from the speakers, even if they are in stereo pair. So the volume should not be affected by the fall off of power and sound volume due to distance changes. Now, 101 decibel. And throughout the entire frequency range, you will hear that the Sonos Move in stereo configuration is outperforming the Sonos Move in mono configuration at any frequency, all right? So the pink or the purple pink, maybe, the pink curve up there is for the Sonos Move in stereo configuration. And topping out at 101 decibels, 8 inches distance, it is not trivial. It is actually very punchy. So if you look at the bass response below 100 hertz, the about 70, 80 hertz, the Sonos Roam starts falling off. And even if you configure them in stereo pair, it is still not able to pick up below 100 hertz. Not by much, a little bit, right? Look at the green and the yellow lines. But between the blue and the pink line, you will see that the Sonos Move in single and stereo configuration, the stereo configuration really pumps up quite a bit. So you are looking at an increment of again, about 6 dB. 6 dB is, like I explained before, about a 4 times increase in the volume and the power output, or rather your perceived volume. So I hope today's video answers your question on whether you should double up on your investment and buy the second Sonos speaker. Again, this is not peculiar to the Sonos Roam, neither is it peculiar to the Sonos Move. It will apply to almost every other speaker that you have, be them powered or not, wireless or not, smart or not. The only exception I would say is the soundbar. You don't really want to position 2 soundbars. In fact, I don't think you can position 2 soundbars in any case. Now, if you appreciate this kind of content and the videos that I've been putting out on my channel, I'm leaving a Patreon link here. You scan this QR code, it will take you to my Patreon account where you can make a small contribution towards my coffee fund so that I can keep doing this video. It is high motivation for me. It is not a lot of money. Any amount that you decide to pledge towards my channel, it helps me keep the channel running. It helps me keep the videos coming. So as usual, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If there are any comments or any suggestions for videos that you want to make with the Sonos Move or the Sonos Roams or the Sonos Ones that I have, the amps that I have, the Arc, the Beam, I have quite a bit, don't I? Well, I'm stuck in the Sonos rabbit hole, and by virtue of the fact that you are here, I suspect you are too. I'll see you in my next video.